Hey there, guys. Welcome to the 13th episode of the series Daily Word Webs to Build the Cat. I'm Anupam Mishra and मेरा detailed introduction और मेरे credentials के बारे में मैं आपको वीडियो के एंड में बताऊंगा. So let's move on to the session. Isn't all value ultimately based on life? Yes, some food for thought. However, what we are more interested in is the root that we'll be discussing today, which is bio, and bio relates to basically means life, right? So the इस रूट से रिलेटेड वर्ड्स आज हम लोग सीखेंगे. ओके, रूट के बारे में थोड़ी सी इन्फॉर्मेशन जान लेते हैं. सो रूट बेसिकली दिस इज अ रूट दैट डिराइव्स फ्रॉम द that has its origin in the Greek language. It means life. There are other roots which have similar meaning, like viv and vit. इन दोनों roots के भी meaning वैसे ही होते हैं. They also stand for life. We'll be looking at these roots in detail in the upcoming sessions. For now, for this session, the focus is going to be on bio. Okay, so let's start. Having this conversation with an old friend a couple of weeks ago, and बात करते करते पता नहीं we started talking about movies. Somehow the topic went in the direction of movies, and I still remember a comment that he he made at that point of time. We live in an he said that we live in an age of biopics, right? And then quite true, right? And that's the first word that we have for today. A biopic is basically a film that is based on the life of a person, usually a popular figure. And अगर आप सोच के देखें, like every 6 months now, there is a new biopic coming up with the protagonist being one of the popular figures, maybe some celebrity, etc. Right? So biopic is that, yeah, now I can understand the angle that that friend was coming from, and I'm sure like many of you guys have already heard of this term quite often, है ना? इसके रूट की एक बार etymology की बात करते हैं. The bio part obviously derives from bio, and the second part, pick, for a change and quite refreshingly, does not derive from any Latin or French or Greek terms. Okay, something that अभी तक जितने भी हम लोग रूट सीख रहे हैं सबके सब you've seen that how many of them come from Latin, many from Greek, and some from French. But this one is a very simple one. Pic is simply short for picture. Okay, so biopic simply stands for uh, excuse me. Biopic simply stands for well, it's essentially the life events of a person captured in a picture or in a series of pictures, or in this case a motion picture, right, which will be a movie. Okay, so a motion picture. So yeah, so that's what a biopic is. Now let's suppose there comes along another person who said कि okay, मेरे को biopic नहीं बनाना, movie नहीं बनाना, I want to go just write a book about my life. Okay, so in that case, what term will you use? We'll use the term biography. Okay, biography derives from bio, comes from bio, that means life, and graphy comes from the root graphein, Graphein, that stands for to write something, right? I think we have discussed this in one of the earlier sessions. Graphein को हमने discuss किया है. So biography is basically a written uh, you know uh, a life events of a person written in a book, right? Recorded in a book. A written record of a person's life events would be a biography. However, please know that you need to. I think you should know how biography differentiates from is different from autobiography. Auto, guys, derives from the root autos, autos, and which stands for self. Okay, and it's a Greek term that stands for self. And so when you say autobiography, then the book in question has been written by the person himself, like the subject of the book, the life. Uh, uh, no, the subject whom the book is supposed to be about, whose life events the book is supposed to be recording, has himself or herself written that book. In that case, it will be considered an autobiography. Otherwise, if it is written by a separate, a different writer, maybe written by someone else, okay, in that case, it will be considered a biography simply. Okay, if it is written by someone else and then not the subject of the book himself or herself. So that's about biopic, biography, and autobiography. Let's come to the next word, which is biomass. What would be the meaning of biomass? Biomass, guys, basically can have two meanings. The first one is here, which stands for organic matter, which is used as a fuel source. Now this can be plant-based material used as fuel to produce heat or electricity, right? जो कि directly काफी बार use होता है, and sometimes like example of biomass could be wood residues or maybe agricultural residues, energy crops, industry waste हो गया आपका, farm waste हो गया, household waste हो गया, right? So organic waste basically. And then sometimes this biomass is used directly by heating to generate energy, and sometimes indirectly by हार्नेसिंग माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म जो कि फर्मेंटेशन प्रोसेस से इनको कुछ रिन्यूएबल फ्यूल में कन्वर्ट कर देते हैं, लाइक बायोएथेनॉल एटसेट्रा. मैं बहुत ज़्यादा उसके टेक्निकलिटीज में नहीं जा रहा, बस इतना समझे दैट बायोमास इज बेसिकली एनी ऑर्गेनिक मैटर दैट कैन बी यूज्ड एज अ फ्यूल सोर्स कैन बी कंसिडर्ड बायोमास. दैट इज द फर्स्ट मीनिंग. सेकंड मीनिंग जो इसका है वो यहाँ पे the total quantum of living matter in an area will be considered the biomass of the area. For example, अगर आप total निकालें कि total quantum of living matter on the planet Earth will be the biomass of Earth, right? And you can understand that because bio stands for life and mass is like as in physics, like the total quantity amount of matter in the body, right? Mass का definition वो था. So yeah, so biomass would be that. So these are the two definitions, meanings of biomass. Let's from biomass there are also a couple of other terms that we can discuss. One of them is I think biosphere, and ये word भी आपने शायद स्कूल में कभी पढ़ा होगा. Biosphere is basically the part of the planet, the regions of the surface and atmosphere of the planet which are occupied by living organisms. Now this can be the region like land, the regions occupied on land by living organisms, the regions occupied underwater, and the regions occupied and the atmosphere as well, right? So biosphere के तीन parts क्या है वहाँ पे मैं नहीं जा रहा. So but biosphere is like all the regions of the planet or the, in our case, Earth, which are occupied by living organisms, right? So that would be the biosphere. Another word, obviously, bio say, like we're discussing bio, and how can we not discuss biology? Biology, guys, will be the science that is concerned with the study of living organisms, and a person who studies this science, who's an expert in this science, will be a biologist, right? So that's pretty straightforward. Let's move on to the next term now, which is abiogenesis. Okay, abiogenesis पे आते हैं. Abiogenesis derives from three parts. First is A, which is nothing but a negative prefix. Okay. Bio obviously comes from the root bio here, and genesis comes from genesis basically means to give to birth something, right? This is also one of the rules that we have discussed in the earlier sessions. So abiogenesis basically is nothing but the evolution and origins of life from non-living matter, right? So abio, you can understand, like A is the negative prefix, that means, and bio is for life, and genesis is generation, that means generation from non-living matter, generation of life from non-living matter. Abio is like negative of life, like non-living. So right, so if you think of like, if you अगर आप evolution को एक बार rewind कर पाए, and then we can go back in time and keep asking कि okay, what we came from apes, then apes came from some other organism, the other organism came from some other organism, and if you keep going back and back and back, finally you'll reach maybe some unicellular organism जहाँ पे like एक ऐसा point आएगा जहाँ पे आपको एक आखिरी living organism मिलेगा, right? The very first living organism you'll come across, right? The very first living organism, or as you might call them, proto living organism. Proto is the root generally used for first, right? And just for example, in prototype is the first version of a product that you create. So that's prototype. So proto is for first, the very initial ones. So the proto, if you get down to the very first living organism, or the proto living organism, that must have evolved from some non-living matter, right? वो भी किसी ना किसी non-living चीज से निकल के आया होगा, matter निकल के आया होगा. And this process is called this of where this living organism evolved or had its origin from that non-living matter. This process is known as abiogenesis. Okay, actually, so that's about that. Let's move on to the next one, which is biopsy. Biopsy is a comes from two roots. Bio is from bio, which means life, and opsy comes from opsis, which stands for opsis is a Greek term that stands for sight. Okay, so biopsy would not mean like having a look at life, but rather it has a more specific meaning, which stands for removal and examination of tissue from a living body. For example, let's say if a tumor was found in a patient's body, and then the doctor wanted to figure out if the tumor is malignant or benignant in nature, benign or malign in nature, है ना? ये हम लोग डिस्कस कर चुके हैं ये वर्ड्स पहले वाले सेशंस में, नहीं देखा आपने तो एक बार देख लीजिएगा. So like if it is if the tumor will be a health hazard or if it is a benign tumor, like उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, then what they will do is they'll take a small tissues from the tumor and then examine that to figure out the nature of the tumor, right? So that is a biopsy, as opposed to autopsy. Autopsy would simply be the examination of the dead body for figuring out, you know, the causes of death generally, right? The post-mortem process जो आपका होता है, that is autopsy. You might wonder that biopsy comes में जो roots आपके हैं, they are more like, you know, bio is for life and opsy is for sight. Autopsy में opsy is for sight, but auto is for self, right? And so इसमें guys what we need to understand here is कि yes, words derive the meaning from etymology, but the way they derive the meaning from etymology is not always parallel or identical. ठीक है, काफ़ी बार चीज़ें वो उसमें जो सेंस होता है, जिस तरह से उन्होंने लॉजिक अप्लाई किया होता है, वो काफ़ी अलग हो जाता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल यहाँ पे देखिए, यहाँ पे बायोप्सी में बायो कम्स फ्रॉम लाइफ एंड ऑप्सी इज फॉर साइट. दैट मीन्स यू आर लुकिंग एट अ लाइव टिश्यू टेकन फ्रॉम अ लाइव बॉडी. बट ऑटोप्सी के केस में द रीजनिंग इज समथिंग डिफरेंट. ऑटो स्टैंड्स फॉर सेल्फ. दैट मीन्स द पर्सन हु इज परफॉर्मिंग द ऑटोप्सी हैज़ टू डू इट बाय देमसेल्व्स बिकॉज द बॉडी इज डेड, राइट? तो वो खुद से ही देख के ऑटोप्सी सब कुछ निकाल के करना है, एंड दैट्स हाउ इट डिराइव्स द मीनिंग स्टैंड्स फॉर, लाइक, यू नो, ऑटोप्सी इज लाइक the examination of a dead body. So and I can understand the discordance in logic here. जो जिस लॉजिक से ये बायोप्सी का मीनिंग आ रहा है, जिस लॉजिक से आपका एटाइमोलॉजिकली ऑटोप्सी का मीनिंग आ रहा है, उसका डिस्कॉर्डेंस मुझे दिख रहा है, बट दैट्स हाउ यू नो that's how it is in case of etymology sometimes, right? The logic by which meanings might be derived from the roots which are involved in the word, वो हमेशा एक जैसा नहीं होगा, वो काफ़ी वैरी करता है, ठीक है? So that's how things are, you know. Yeah. Next, symbiosis पे आते हैं. Let's come to the next word, which is symbiosis. Bio obviously comes from bio. The second part comes from bio. The first part, sim, is again a term that stands for with. W-I-T-H, with. It's a Greek term. S-Y-M is a Greek term that stands for with. So symbiosis would be like when two organisms are surviving with each other, are interacting and living together for mutual benefits. वो आपका symbiosis हो जाएगा. Okay. एक I think biology में in school there used to be this chapter on leguminous plants, right? Leguminous plants, the plants that which will have nodulous roots, nodule type के roots होते थे, and then there would be these nitrogen fixing type के bacteria which will live in those roots, and the function of these bacteria would simply be to convert nitrogen from around them into ammonia, which the plant can then use for its purposes. And उसके बदले में the plant will let the bacteria live in its roots, right? So there is, you can see how there's a back and forth relationship between the bacteria and the plant here, right? So that is a that is an example of a symbiotic relationship. So yeah, that's symbiosis for you. Symbiosis से एक दो terms और हैं which we can discuss, we can talk about, which are I think antibiotic, right? So antibiotics are medicines which are given to slow down or to the growth of bacteria, right? Bacterial infections, or maybe to even eradicate the bacteria that is causing the bacterial infection. So that is antibiotics. Similarly, you have probiotics, right? सारे के सारे bacteria खराब नहीं होते, right? Probiotics will be are basically you know probiotics are basically microorganisms that are intended to have health benefits when consumed, right? So आपका ये काफ़ी कुछ ऐसे drinks आते हैं, मैं नाम नहीं लूँगा obviously, कि which are supposed to improve the health of your gut health, right? Improve the gut bacteria in your body, right? So that it is considered to be healthy, right? So again, I'm not going into the biology of it, right? So we'll stick to the vocabulary here. So yeah, so that's about it. So many words discussed here today, and with this I think we can stop. Okay, so guys, here you can simply pause the video and उसके बाद just go through the usage of all of these sentences one by one, and try to understand how they have been used in each of these contexts. They have all been derived from reliable sources for you. Okay. And this is where you can test your learning. You just need to find the correct order of sentences given here to match the words on the left side. Okay, you can also attempt this in the format of a Google form, link to which has been provided in the description of the video. And finally, the summary of the session, guys. These are the roots and words that we learned on a primary and a secondary basis. You can go through these, pause the video and go through these. थोड़ा बहुत recall करने की आप कोशिश करेंगे तो it will help you internalize the all your learning and ensure that you don't that the learning is sustained for a long time. Finally, guys, I'm Anupam Mishra, and I'm Lucknow alumnus. These are my areas of work and expertise. These are the brands that I've worked with, and these are my CAT credentials. I've also worked as an academy educator in the past, recognized by the Johnny Ive Award for best course design and delivery. And yeah, so that's about me. Sluggers, guys, we are a growing channel. मैं यहाँ पे काफ़ी सारी जो दिक्कतें हैं यहाँ पे टेस्ट प्रेप में मैं उनको एड्रेस करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ स्लगर्स के द्वारा एंड बिकॉज वी आर अ ग्रोइंग चैनल हमें आपके पूरे सपोर्ट की ज़रूरत होगी तो अगर आपको हमारा कंटेंट और डिलीवरी अच्छा लगता है देन डू like and subscribe like the videos and subscribe to the channel and share it with anyone who you think might benefit from these. आपके लिए शायद वो एक सिंपल सा क्लिक या एक बटन रहता होगा बट फॉर अ ग्रोइंग चैनल इट मेक्स अ बिग इट मेक्स अ बिग डिफरेंस फॉर अस सो प्लीज़ डू दैट. अगर आप नेक्स्ट वीडियो देखना चाहते हैं तो आप यहाँ क्लिक कर सकते हैं एंड इफ यू वांट टू गो टू द वेरी फर्स्ट वीडियो ऑफ द सीरीज जो अगर आपने नहीं देखा हो तो आप यहाँ क्लिक करके आगे जा सकते हैं. ओके, सो दैट्स अबाउट इट फ्रॉम माय साइड. थैंक यू.